It's the Full Court Press with Eric Franson and Jason Walker.
Welcome back to the to the show that we're doing right now.
Following the local teams, breaking down the biggest games with in-depth analysis and team interviews.
There's going to be much higher expectations, sense of awareness of what we bring to the table.
Join the show by calling into 435-752-1069 or text 435-339-0321. It's the Full Court Press.
Rose, Angela, yes! Caught! Touchdown! Did he get it?
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Full Court Press. Jason Walker with you here on a Reaction Monday. And there's a lot to react to. Utah State with three massive games over the weekend. Of course, they also had track and field, cross country, which they did rather well in. Obviously, the football game makes all the headlines, what we were writing about over the weekend, what I spent a lot of my time reviewing. I think I've rewatched the game probably at least the first half. Every play in the first half about 3 times. I spent way too much time breaking down that Air Force game. My Monday cooldown, which will be published later this afternoon, is going to be way too long. But I'll be going over the meat and potatoes of what I went over in that, or what will be published in that article. I will go over that in today's show. We'll excuse Eric Franson. From today's show, he's spending some important time with his family, so it'll be just me, Jason Walker, here going with you. Of course, we've got the text line with us. If you guys want to participate, reactions, thoughts, a lot of there's so much going on, especially with the football program. Quarterback controversy, although not so much quarterback controversy. It seems to be just about settled at this point. But if you guys want to text in your thoughts, Cooper Legas getting benched, Utah State winning in women's soccer. They also took on BYU in volleyball, although they lost in volleyball. But share your thoughts, 435-339-0321. 2305 says, good morning back to you, Jason. Did I say good morning or good afternoon? Oh, that's how we start the day. That's how we start the show. First 2 words of the day, can't even get it right. I had a couple of texts come in before the show. We even started a few minutes before. 8968, the football team, about as bad as it is, looked good a week ago. I expect more out of both offense and the defense. On the other hand, good going soccer team for flying the banner high for the Aggies. And 7241 says, how about you guys spend the whole show talking about the soccer team? Well, I will spend some time talking about the soccer team. But first things first, maybe we'll go in order of the games that happened. But with football, the big story, Cooper Legas benched. He'd been the starter ever since Logan Bonner went down against UNLV last year. Started all the games that he was healthy. He was the starter at the beginning of spring ball. He was the starter at the beginning of fall camp. Really showed no signs of, his job being threatened. We saw good things out of Levi Williams. We saw good things out of McCae Hillstead. McCae Hillstead looked really good for a true freshman in camp. And looked pretty good in, limited time against Idaho State. But it certainly came as a surprise when, with 11 minutes and 11 seconds to go in the second quarter, Cooper Legas wasn't out there. It was McCae Hillstead. And that was a surprise. To me, it was a surprise. I thought Blake Anderson was a guy who sticks with his quarterback, but apparently he'd seen enough. Felt that Cooper Legas wasn't the guy and went with McCae Hillstead. 2305 says the Air Force Academy showed you don't need a quarterback after only throwing 4 times. Yeah, Air Force, I don't know, they are they feel unique in a lot of ways because they're a team that is successful year in and year out. Have been very successful for several years now, and over the whole of Troy Calhoun's tenure there, they've been pretty dang good. And they get there by kind of being a bit gimmicky. And I think what makes it work for them is that, they play in the Mountain West, and Mountain West teams are just usually not ready to face Air Force. And they don't have the athletes to be able to win against the triple option. And, when they're able to, when they face teams with really good defense, because the thing is, Air Force's offense isn't this, magic cheat code against, defenses. Because obviously it's a bit of an outdated, offensive system, and so it's not a mainstream thing. And when you run an offense that isn't mainstream, it can be difficult. But the thing is, if you have a good defense, a great defense, good athletes, good players, good coaching, you will shut down the triple option. But Utah State doesn't necessarily have all those things. You can debate about whether they have the coaching. It certainly didn't have the players. The players weren't able to make sometimes the individual plays they needed to, or keep their assignments, make big stops, play physical. And that ended up being a story of the game. But one thing, I don't want to start bouncing all over the place. I want to get back on track with Cooper Legas and McCae Hillstead. I want to hear you guys' thoughts on how you felt McCae Hillstead did it. Is he the answer in your mind? Utah State they were mediocre on offense against Iowa. Their running game was elite against Idaho State. Passing offense was passable, no pun intended. In that game, Cooper Legas went 14 of 16 for, I forget how many yards and a couple touchdowns. But then obviously the offense was terrible against Air Force. So is McCae Hillstead the answer for a passing offense that hasn't really shown itself to be good so far this season? Or wasn't even that good last season? Is a true freshman the answer? But I want to go to some comments that Blake Anderson made about kind of why he made that decision. What led him into that? And why McCae Hillstead is the starter. So we're going to play a couple of clips back-to-back. He talked about McCae Hillstead being the starter. And then he was asked about, he had a chance to review the game film. Because after the game, he was like, all right, I made a decision for McCae to be the starter, but I want to go back, look at film, and then decide who would be the starter. Now, he's made the decision. At the very beginning of this clip, he notes his decision. And then he goes on a bit of why. We'll continue to talk a little bit about why after Blake Anderson's comments. So here's what he said, just asked about being asked who would be the starter going forward.
McCae will be the starter going into tomorrow's practice. I had good long talks with both McCae and Coop and Levi, honestly, just about their roles and kind of where I'm at and what do I expect. I hate being in the situation we're in, but it's my job to assess it and move forward as I think fits our team the best and gives us the best chance to win right now. That is the goal. I want to win. I want to win now. I want to find a way to be competitive every week in a very, very difficult schedule. But I think we've got the skilled players around McCae to allow his skill set and the confidence that he has in delivering the ball through across the field. I think it gives us the best opportunity to win. I was very open with Coop. My frustrations with his decision making and just his lack of confidence right now in some of his choices. I want to keep coaching him through it. He's going to have to play at some point. He's going to have to win a game at some point. I mean, if you just look at the nature of our league and how physical it is, the chance of McCae getting all the way through every snap for the rest of the season is pretty low. I mean, there's going to be a helmet come off, a bump, a bruise, an injury of some kind, and Coop needs to be ready, and this is time that he can keep working on that. But for now, we're gonna put McCae out there, do everything we can to help him be successful, and if he'll make decisions quickly as he did the other night, be confident in those choices, and protect the football, it gives us a chance to win, and that's really his responsibility.
So yeah, Anderson felt like McCae gives the Aggies the best chance to win. And it was kind of interesting to see that happen. It was a bit of a surprise. The team seemed a bit shocked, and I know more than one person seemed to point out on Twitter that, hey, Blake Anderson was ride or die with Logan Bonner, even after he threw 8 interceptions across 2 games. And really only seemed to go with Cooper Legas after Bonner was forced to the bench by a foot injury. And I would like to think that Blake Anderson just said, look, maybe he made a mistake with that kind of ride or die mentality. Or maybe he just never got what he wanted out of Cooper Legas. Because at one point, he got a lot out of Logan Bonner. Logan Bonner, I mean, at Arkansas State, his last year there, he threw, 18 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. In 2021, 36 touchdowns, record-setting, performance. So maybe Bonner had earned some of that. And maybe maybe Legas never quite did that. I don't know if the situation is apples to apples. But I would like to think that maybe Blake's maybe learned. 9952 actually a text perhaps along similar lines asking, did Blake actually learn from the fans booing last year about not replacing Bonner, or does he have an issue with Legas? And I do wonder if it's one or the other, or both. Like, is he more willing? Has he felt like he made a mistake last year with not benching Bonner? But I think some of it may just be not so much that he has an issue with Legas, it's just that he's not seen what he's wanted to see out of Legas in terms of growth. Legas obviously went through it last year where it was an unideal situation, thrown in halfway through the year, a couple games after there were boos raining down on their own team. The Aggies were 1-4. Or I think they were 1-3 when he made his first start. Go to 1-4. Then he has to lead them, back to a bowl game, which he did. At least he was the quarterback. Now, I made the comment, I think it was a week or so ago, that I felt that Cooper Legas had never really dominated a game. And I stood by that. And it wasn't the hottest take in the world. But to me, something that I at least passively noticed was, hey, Cooper Legas has never really led the Aggies to a victory. He's been part of plenty and been a positive impact in plenty of wins. I don't know if there's too many games I could say Utah State lost because of Cooper Legas. I just feel like there weren't really any games that I can say, yeah, Cooper Legas won this game for the Aggies. In the same way that you could say, like, Devin Tompkins won this game, or Logan Bonner won this game, or, these players, obviously players don't win a game single-handedly, but you kind of get that feeling of, oh yeah, the Aggies won because this guy balled out. And Cooper Legas was never really that guy. And at quarterback, you have to be that guy more often than not. Quarterbacks have such a massive impact that they need to be able to assert their, impact, take advantage of the impact they can have, and really drive the offense. And I never felt that Cooper Legas had done that. Now, mind you, I didn't really obsess over that. I didn't want to harp on Cooper Legas' weaknesses. I felt that he was there to grow. That was what this season was supposed to show, was that he was going to grow beyond what he had been in 2021, which is essentially a game manager. The problem was, it seems through 3 games, he just hasn't grown out of that. And that's what Blake Anderson seems to be talking about. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but to me, he seems, he talked about, lack of confidence, throws that don't have much confidence behind them. I know in some of my own film breakdowns have shown clips of passes where Legas just makes the right read, and that's something that you see out of Legas a lot, actually, is he makes the right read most of the time. He has his fair share of dumb passes, and his interception against Air Force was one of them. He doesn't make, dumb decisions to throw. He's made poor throws just too often. And it seems to be out of a result of maybe not being aggressive enough, not being confident enough. Now it's something that Blake Anderson harped on is, confidence, talking about being fidgety in the pocket, different things like that. Just seemed that something with Legas wasn't there. He needs to be able to pull the trigger more often. Going back to the text line 0366. Says Utah State needs to teach their QBs how to count. 1, 2, 3. Get rid of the ball. I know that was one thing with the fumble, is that Blake Anderson felt that ball should have been out earlier. Granted, on film, I couldn't see everything. I couldn't see what everything was like downfield because none of the TV angles gave the view of what the passing routes were. It just showed Legas hesitating and then giving up, a strip sack. 2305 says McCae was a 3-star recruit out of high school and the top quarterback prospect out of Utah when he signed with the Aggies. And yeah, he's very promising. And the fact that he was a true freshman and he looks this good, like, dang. Like, Daryl Garrettson's probably the best we've ever seen as far as true freshman at Utah State. I know Kent Myers, he was also a true freshman when he was starting a bunch of games in 2014. So actually back-to-back seasons. I think it was the Aggies had true freshmen playing a lot of minutes or, starting a lot of games. And both of them were decent in their own way. Kent Myers a bit more of a runner. Garrettson put up a lot of yards. He had a game where he had like 298 yards, another game with like 370. So it's been a while since we've seen a true freshman step in and actually play. And heck, we had Bishop Davenport as a true freshman start a game last year, but he was more of a game manager. Mind you, he had a really good arm, but he was overthrowing guys, missing guys, inaccurate passes here or there. There were, I think, out of 27 attempts, I think McCae Hillstead had, by my account, 3 passes that were just off. Just inaccurate passes. And that's out of, 18 of 27, so that's 9 passes. But only 3 of those, I would say, were definitively his fault that they were incomplete. Because of throwaways, multiple drop passes, deflected at the line, that kind of stuff. But let's hear from Blake Anderson what he thought of McCae's performance. Also goes a bit into Legas as well on this. But, after Friday's game, Anderson was pretty clear. It's like, hey, I do have some thoughts, but want to go back and look at the film and see if what I saw in the game, shows up on film. And the answer was, for the most part, his initial analysis was mostly correct once he went back and watched it on film. Here's Anderson.
What I saw on the field and the frustrations that I had were what I saw on tape. I felt like Coop was indecisive and fidgety in the pocket. He was late. He was late getting the ball out on the fumble. The ball should have been out much earlier. The ball that was floated down the middle was not a confident throw. Should have been picked off. We're lucky it hit the turf. The interception was not very confident, poor decision based off the look that he'd seen a million times. And for whatever reason, he's not comfortable in the pocket right now. What I saw from McCae was quick decisions, working through progressions, making good decisions on things that he's had reps of. Now, he missed some things as well. He missed pressures that he should have protected and picked up and read differently. But there are things that, honestly, I haven't really had a chance to give him reps of and really teach him through, considering he's only been getting about 20% of the reps. At most, on a given week, maybe 30% of the reps. I think those are things that, with reps, he will get better at and he'll have better answers for moving forward. But did not put the ball in harm's way. He kept his eyes downfield. He made quick decisions, moved on from 1, 2 to 3, moved the chains with his feet, was not afraid of the moment. And I think he'll only get better with the reps he's going to get as a starter.
I think one of the interesting things about Blake Anderson's comments, and you noted this during post-game and then on Monday, talking about how some of those sacks weren't so much on the offensive line as they were maybe on the quarterback, because he says, it's the quarterback's job to be able to spot, read the defense, and maybe in looking over it, a lot of times they'll look over the sideline and they'll maybe get some calls from there, but communicate to the offensive line the protection scheme they want. And apparently McCae wasn't as good at that as, others have previously been. I mean, he was sacked, I think, 3-4 times. And some of them, if that's the case, he should have picked up on some blitzes. I think several of those sacks were just on blitzes, where Air Force brought another guy and was able to overwhelm Utah State's pass protection. And I think that if McCae, if that is certainly the case, McCae can learn from that, get better, and of course he's going to face a heck of a pass rush with James Madison. They're a really good pass rushing team, so he's going to certainly be facing a difficult task there. But want to take a break here. We'll resume talking about Utah State against Air Force a little bit, but this next segment I do want to talk about Utah State, the soccer team, taking down number 1 BYU. It's only the second time in Utah State sports history, at least among sanctioned programs, that it's ever defeated a team ranked number 1 in the polls. So we'll talk about that game coming up next here on the Full Court Press.
Are you going to the Parade of Homes today? Make sure to check out the appliances inside the beautiful homes at Northridge and Brio. This is Jay at Daryl's Appliance. We are excited to be a part of this year's event. Did you know Daryl's offers exclusive builder pricing on luxury brands like Wolf, Sub-Zero, and Thermador? We can even stack the savings with rebates too. We have it all, including GE Cafe and KitchenAid appliances as well. All of that only at Daryl's West on Airport Road, open until 6 p.m. on weekdays, 5 on Saturday. Enjoy the show.
Life is hard, so making sure you find that perfect woman is important. You need someone that will be by your side through the good and the bad. Once you have found her, show her that she is special with a beautiful diamond ring from Jerix. Yes, it is all about the romance. At Jerix, you won't find a more intimate setting. Where you purchase the ring might not be as important as who you choose to marry, but it's pretty close.
Jerix Fine Jewelry. Make it special. Make it Jerix.
Elements has delicious lunch specials. Soup, salad, and bread for just $10 is tasty and quick. Elements lunch menu is full of scrumptious items. Wood-fired pizzas are an excellent choice that include barbecued chicken and the bee's knees. The fresh battered halibut fish and chips with seasoned fries is always a hit. And don't forget the fan favorite, Chipotle fried chicken sandwich. Thursdays, enjoy Elements house-made smoked brisket, casual or professional. Open Monday through Thursday, 11:30 to 8 p.m. and Friday and Saturday, 11:30 to 9. Visit theelementsrestaurant.com for reservations.
Make it 3 years in a row. Advanced Heating and AC is honored to be named Gold Medalist for the Best of Northern Utah in the AC HVAC category. They thank you for your support and vote of confidence in their company. You have many choices when it comes to your home's heating and air conditioning system. Make sure you choose the Gold Medal winning company, Advanced Heating and AC. Call 752-7272 or stop by their showroom west of DI. Online at advancedheating-ac.com.
Hi, I'm Jay Broadbent with Alpine Home Medical. I'd like to invite you to learn more about us. Since 1997, we've been Utah's premier one-stop shop for home medical equipment. What sets us apart at Alpine Home Medical is the superior level of customer service. We provide home oxygen, CPAPs, wheelchairs, scooters, breast pumps, and so much more. Come on down and get to know us.
Alpine Home Medical, we bring wellness home.
Visit alpinehomemedical.com.
Adams Wealth Advisors is proud to announce that they've been named as one of the best financial advisory firms in the country by USA Today. Start maximizing your wealth potential with a team of experienced advisors who specialize in working with high net worth individuals. Let Adams Wealth Advisors help you achieve your financial goals with a personalized approach to investment management and planning. For more information on how Adams Wealth Advisors can help you achieve your financial goals, go to adamswealthadvisors.com. That's adamswealthadvisors.com.
Get on board.
The water is open. It's time to go boating and fishing and leave stress in our wake. Feel the wind as we ride and a fish on the line. Reel in our first catch and feel the sun at our backs. It's get out on the water season. It's time to get on board. Find out where to get on board near you. Visit Take Me Fishing and Discover Boating to learn more. And please recreate responsibly.
Get on board. Get on board.
They never could play it, but they sure can talk about it. Eric Franson and Jason Walker on the Full Court Press.
435-339-0321. That's the number you can text in. Join the show, the Full Court Press. Thoughts on a pretty busy weekend for Utah State sports. Cross country in action. Utah State volleyball, soccer, football. 2 of those got a win over the weekend, or at least, victories. Cross country kind of in their own, I don't know. It's always tricky when you're talking about track and field or cross country. Those sports obviously function quite a bit differently from the team sports with football, soccer, volleyball. Football and volleyball, unfortunately, falling over the weekend. Utah State, obviously, 39-21 to Air Force. Volleyball, they hosted number 12 BYU here in the Estes Center, here in Logan at the Estes Center. Lost to them 3-0. They were really competitive in all 3 sets. I think it was like 25-23, 25-20, and then I think 25, I want to say 23 again. I think I might be off on that 3rd set. So it's competitive in all 3 sets, but the Aggies getting swept by a ranked BYU. And I think 3 of the volleyball team's 4 losses, so I think they're 7-4. 7-4 or 8-4. And 3 of their 4 losses are to teams that are either ranked. I mean, one's number 4, one's number 12. And then a 3rd team, Texas A&M, a team they lost. So they lost like number 4 Nebraska, number 12 BYU, and then Texas A&M, who aren't ranked but are receiving votes. The Aggies themselves were receiving votes in the poll on September 10th. I don't know if they've released another poll. Maybe I should check for the most recent volleyball poll. But the big game over the weekend, probably the biggest game out of all 3. I know football obviously makes the headlines, and volleyball is certainly becoming a more and more popular team here with their successes. But Utah State soccer, the women's soccer team, took on number 1 BYU, and it's not very often that Utah State takes on number 1 teams. I can only think of a handful. And in football, it's been several times that Utah State's faced number 1 teams. They'll think Nebraska way back when, Alabama, I think once or twice ranked number 1. There have been some top 5 teams that Utah State will face. Heck, they faced number 5 Nebraska in volleyball. But number 1 in the country, and it was BYU. So, it's another Utah team that's ranked number 1. And one of the times Utah State faced the number 1 ranked team was UNLV. It's because they were in their conference. They faced them twice when they were ranked number 1. But the thing is, you look at all those different times Utah State's facing number 1 overall teams. They lose. Sometimes they lose badly. But on Saturday, in the afternoon, Utah State took on BYU, top team in the country, and defeated them 1-0. There was record attendance. Belfield was full. More than 2,000 people. 2,013 is the official attendance. I tell you, there might have been more. That field on the south side, or the hill on the south side of the field, just full of people. The stands themselves were full. The bleachers they have on the west side of the field, full to capacity. Standing room and chairs all along that west side, on either side of the bleachers, just full of people. A lot of them BYU fans, most of them Utah State fans. And it was quite the environment. And when the Aggies won, when that, the 90th minute finally finished, it was crazy. The fans rushed the field. I've been to several wins of Utah State soccer, attended Bell Field plenty of times. I've never seen fans rush the field. But I've never watched them beat a ranked opponent before on Bell Field. Not the number 1 team in the country. It was just a massive win. And certainly a special moment, especially because Utah State's been playing a brutal non-conference schedule. Lots of great teams. And they've struggled. I think they're 4-5-1 now. A losing record. And certainly I don't think that record is reflective of who they are. And I think this game really showed that. They were able to go toe-to-toe with BYU. And they were able to win. And off of this win, De'Ara Walton, the goalkeeper, she got credit for the shutout, played all 90 minutes. And with this shutout, became the all-time leader in career shutouts at Utah State. She's already the all-time career saves leader at Utah State. And I think she might have a record in like minutes played or something like that. So she's racking up, records. And this one, not only was it a win over a number one team, she gets 6 saves in a shutout over BYU. But it's her 23rd and record-breaking. She was tied at 22 shutouts for the all-time lead. Gets the 23rd one in a very special game against BYU. And this is a BYU team that's averaging 3.9 goals per game. 3.9 goals per game. They're the number one team for a reason. BYU team is really good. They're 7-1-1 now. They were undefeated prior to facing Utah State. So De'Ara Walton getting her 23rd career shutout. She was named Mountain West Defensive Player of the Week. And the Mountain West Freshman of the Week was Summer Diamond. She got the 1 goal in the game. Left-footed shot, 51st minute. Around the top of the box, just slotted it in the left side. It was an absolutely great goal in a great game. So she was named Freshman of the Week. And I mentioned all the times Utah State's played number one teams. This is actually, I thought it might have been the first time Utah State's ever beaten a number one overall team. It's actually the second. In 2010, I had to ask someone this. I didn't know this myself. But in 2010, the softball team took on Washington, who at the time was number one. Beat them 7-4. They were playing a showcase out on the West Coast. Utah State took on number one Washington, beat them 7-4. So only the second time ever that the Aggies ever defeated a number one ranked team. It's a special one. And got some clips from a couple of the players, from Manny Martin. So we have Manny Martins, Summer Diamond, and De'Ara Walton. So the stars of the show. So let's start with Summer Diamond, goal scorer in this game. She gets that 1 goal. Here were some of her comments after the game. And it's a bit hard to hear for a moment because the crowd is going nuts around her. Just because obviously they were storming the field and fans were all over the field. So it gets a bit hard to hear her during this interview. But here's Summer Diamond, the freshman attacker for the Aggies.
I mean, we couldn't be more excited. Like, this is what we wanted, number one team. And we've always known we can beat them. This is what we wanted to do. The team worked so hard today. In the past, we didn't get the results we quite wanted to. But I mean, adversity comes, like Manny was saying in this huddle. Adversity comes, you have to get over it, and it's your mindset. So it was awesome to come out here and just give it all we got, and that's what we did.
Yeah, so she was talking kind of in the middle there just about how the results hadn't gone their way for a lot of the season. And she said, yeah, adversity happens. But they overcame it. And things aren't over for them. They're going to have to go out and they're going to have to win more games. They can't just ride this season to the end and say, oh, yeah, we beat the number one team, so that's that. Well, they got a tough Mountain West schedule ahead of them. But certainly it's a confidence booster for them. Here's De'Ara Walton, who's also interviewed after the game, her thoughts on the win.
I feel like our team worked so hard throughout the whole entire game. During the meeting, we kind of had a team gathering. We're just we got to come out there. We got to pressure them before they can build up the confidence to do whatever they do. And credit to the team, they're a really good team. So it was a really good game.
Yeah, pressuring BYU, not letting them do what they do. I know it's not super easy to hear what they were saying because of just the people in the background, but yeah, Utah State did an incredibly great job of not giving too many good opportunities to BYU. And that's the thing. And the thing about this Utah State, soccer team is they can be in every single game. I'm trying to think of a game where they were not even really competitive, and I think they might have lost a game 2-0 or 3-0. I think Utah beat them 2-0. I think maybe St. Louis might have beat them 2-0. But even in that game, there were a lot of times where they were in that game. Utah State's defense allows them to be in every game. You've got your keeper, De'Ara Walton, who's, all-time career shutout, career saves, minutes and all that. Leader, she's in the back. You've got her directing in defense. A back line that is full of multi-year starters, players who've earned all Mountain West honors, honorable mention, second team, first team, all that kind of stuff, all along that back line. You've got a couple of holding midfielders returning as well. And that's just the strength of this team, is they have such a great defense. Now, where they have struggled a bit is in scoring. They've been shut out a few too many times. They're replacing pretty much all of their forwards from last season. I mean, Summer Diamond is playing a role as a freshman, and that's telling you, one, she's good, but two, there's a big opening, at the top of the formation for players that needed to step in. Summer Diamond is just one of them. I know London Miller and Busy Arevalo are two players that have had to step up. Busy Arevalo, more of a winger. She's played that role. She's not necessarily somebody who plays at the top of the formation, top middle formation. She's not like a striker doing a lot of the scoring. London Miller, she's an attacking midfielder, but a lot of that is setting things up and then taking some shots. So Utah State struggled to get some goals from their strikers, but their defense keeps them in, and all it took was the one great shot from Summer Diamond. Gives them the win. And it's absolutely a wonderful moment for this program. It's something that, it goes down in the history books. In years down the line, it's something you remember. You say, hey, you beat the number one team. Best team in the country. That team lost to you. The only blemish on BYU's record is to Utah State, and that may very well stay that way for much of the rest of the season. Of course, BYU fans, one of the first reactions I saw from a BYU fan was basically, we shouldn't be playing Utah State anymore. That was their first reaction. Let's stop playing Utah State, maybe. And there was some weird circular reasoning argument. I can't remember what the argument was, but the crux of the argument was we should stop playing Utah State. Because that's what happens when BYU and Utah lose to the Aggies. Oh, we should stop playing them. Because, Utah State, every now and again they win. Of course, Utah State, prior to Manny Martin's arriving in Logan, the Aggies were 0-13 against the Cougars all time. Manny Martin's is 2-0-1. He's got 2 wins in the last 3 years. Beat him 2-1 his first season with the Aggies. They tied last year, 1-1, which was in Logan, funnily enough. Funny because this year, so back-to-back years, BYU's come to Logan. They tied him last year. This year, they beat him 1-0. So, absolutely fantastic job done by the soccer team. Congratulations to them. Going to see if we can have one of their players on the Light the A podcast in the near future. Just talk about their season, this win. And we've had a chance to have Manny Martins in the podcast. That's why I want to try and have one of the players. But that'll be something for down the line. But anyway, need to take another break. We're going to go back to Utah State football. Just talk about the defense against Air Force, some of the problems. The fact that the Aggies started poorly that first quarter. Really something that did them in. So we'll get back to talking about Utah State football here next on the Full Court Press.
Beazer Lock & Key specializes in securing your world with their expertise in locks, keys, and hardware. Every aspect of their services is meticulously tailored to ensure your safety. They offer a vast selection of hardware brands and access control options along with custom master key systems. With Beazer Lock & Key, you have control of your facility's access 24/7. For 28 years, Beazer has provided top-notch security solutions that stand unmatched in the industry. Visit 4th North, 1st West in Logan or go to BeazerLock.com to discover more.
Prodigy Brewing is celebrating fall in the air. Kids are back at school, USU students are on campus, and weekends are for football. At Prodigy Brewing, you'll find something to satisfy everyone's tastes. Juicy burgers, sizzling wood-fired pizzas, tasty salads, and a kids menu. Don't forget, September 23rd is the Giant Pumpkin Festival on Center Street. Stop by Prodigy Brewing for a quick, delicious lunch or grab a tasty Prodigy Brew in the beer garden. Voted best craft beer and bar and grill in northern Utah. Prodigy Brewing on Center Street in downtown Logan. Extraordinary service and family friendly.
Fall is in the air and it's getting colder. Make sure your vehicle is well maintained. Valvoline Instant Oil Change in Logan across from Angie's can help. As the weather turns colder, your car needs more babying and an oil change is easy. They'll change your oil and also check other fluid levels and replace your air filters if needed. The best thing, you can stay in your car while their trained professionals service your vehicle. Valvoline Instant Oil Change, 695 North Main, open 7 days a week.
Hi, this is Gene Needham of SC Needham Jewelers. I would like to welcome all USU students back to Logan. Perhaps this is the year you'll get engaged. Thousands of Aggies have shopped our store over the past century. We are Utah's oldest jewelry store. My children, Sylvan, JD, Elizabeth, Stuart, and Stratford represent our 5th generation of jewelers. When choosing a ring, visit our website at scneedham.com or simply visit our store in downtown Logan, where Utah gets engaged. SC Needham Jewelers, middle of the block, at the sign of the clock.
Check this out. This is The Herd. You're excited. I'm excited.
With Colin Cowherd.
You're looking to salvage the pick now with Zach Wills. What you do is show them off now. Teams are going to be making all sorts of moves. And can you find a team out there that starts 3-3? They lose their quarterback. They don't necessarily think Zach is a 10-year guy, but he's got the best arm on the market.
This is The Herd.
Weekdays from 10 to 1 on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
I am one of over 40 million Americans with migraine. A migraine is not just a headache. A migraine attack can last for hours or even days, often with sensitivity to lights and sounds or nausea and vomiting. Thankfully, there is help for migraine. Learn more at headachemigraine.org. Now is the perfect time to find out if what you have may be migraine. Visit headachemigraine.org, sponsored by the Coalition for Headache and Migraine Patients.
The Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
At Napa Auto Parts, they feature all the best brands: Croyle, Amsoil, Schaefer, BG, Seafoam. You can find the parts, find the oil you need to keep your car and equipment running at its best. You can find one of the 5 locations locally owned from Preston to Providence. So I want to talk a little bit about Utah State defense. Probably go into a bit more in the second hour, kind of the back half of the second hour. One note, we are going to be talking about high school football at the top of the 5 o'clock hour. And after that first segment, at the end of that segment, we'll call, and you'll have to wait until then, but at that time, we'll call for the Old Grist Mill bread and butter play of the game. But wait until then. You'll have a chance to win some free bread. So we'll have that coming up in the second hour. Obviously talking to high school football. We'll talk around the Mountain West, things that happened, other teams. There were some exciting ones, Colorado State, UNLV of all teams. But want to talk a little about Utah State's defense, because that's, I think, we put in the headlines, and I put in my own headline, Cooper Legas getting benched, McCae Hillstead comes in. But really a bigger part of the loss for Utah State came on defense. The offense scored 21 points. You play great defense, you can be a little bit better in the game. And now, in fairness to the defense, the interception and fumble that Utah State handed to Air Force, that didn't help the defense. Several of their points, 14 of their points, because their first drive where they got the 2-point conversion came on their own, drive. But getting those 2 touchdowns giving those 2 turnovers to Air Force's offense certainly didn't help. But overall, looking at Utah State's defense, they were just out-physicaled. I think that word, I probably stole that from Blake Anderson. I believe he used it. But that was the impression that I was getting throughout the entire game, is that Air Force was just playing more physical. And I don't know what it was. I don't know why. It doesn't make any sense. There were a couple of clips. Jaden Francois, who plays, he's kind of the backup. Well, he's a defensive back, and he also is the backup to Anthony Switzer in that hybrid position. That's actually where Francois played a lot of Friday's game, because Switzer was he was questionable the whole week, and they didn't know if he was going to play. He did end up playing in the second half, and turns out he'll be all right. But Francois, he had a career night in terms of statistics. But we were asked about, okay, out physicaled, team beats up on you. He was asked some of these questions, and there's a couple of different clips. I'll play them kind of back to back just to get an idea of what he said. The defense is kind of owning up to it, admitting that they didn't play up to their normal standard.
I mean, really, just everyone has to just play their part, and I feel like we didn't play to our standard. We didn't play as physical as we talked about and as we practiced. So I feel like everyone just has to get better and just doing their job, including myself.
So that was one of the clips. There's another one where he was kind of asked a similar question, gave a similar answer later on. Here is that clip.
I mean, like I said before, like, that's not our defensive standard. Like, during the past couple months, we've been preparing for Air Force, and we knew what type of game it was going to be. So, for us to just go out there and not play to that physical standard is just disappointing. Trust, it won't happen again.
I would certainly hope it doesn't happen again. That can't happen. Getting beat by a scheme, sometimes you can live with that. Having a bad game, I guess you can live with that. But just being out physical, which is a big part of this game. And I mean, it came on both sides. Because Utah State, they get on the goal line. That first possession where they were able to get on the goal line, it was McCae Hillstead's second possession, I think. They get into the goal line. And I think they ran 4 or 5 plays pretty much on the goal line. They got a fresh set of downs because of a face mask. 4 or 5 plays, they couldn't get it in from the 2-yard line. You can't do that. Should never have that happen to your offense. I mean, Levi Williams, you talk about him being and I've talked about him being a great, goal line or short yardage package kind of quarterback. Bring in the guy who's listed about 6'4", 6'5", listed about 230, 240 pounds. Yeah, have that guy just truck it into the end zone. Who's going to stop him? Well, the answer is Trey Taylor for Air Force, who's all of 6 foot and 200 or 210 pounds, whatever he's listed at. Levi Williams has a running start. Trey Taylor stands him up on the goal line. And then a couple of reinforcements come. They just push him back. And then on defense, all over the place. Running backs, running over linebackers. You get a few yards down the field, the running back gets stood up, then the Air Force offensive linemen converge and push the running back forward 4 or 5 yards. Utah State was just completely bullied in this game on both sides of the ball, and especially on defense. So for all the talk of quarterbacks, I brought up at the beginning, I know that's going to be a big focus going forward. But that's something the Aggies need to take care of. Is they need to make sure that they are not being bullied by the opposing team. Going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll finish up the hour here on the Full Court Press.
This is Ryan at My Mattress. My brother Travis and I opened our first store here in Logan in 2010 by Big 5 Sports. Recently, we opened our second location by Red Balloon Toys. We carry the world's best beds, IntelliBed Purple, Tempur-Pedic, and Sealy Posturepedic. And yes, we are the ones that tease Lewiston once in a while. We're 6th generation Cache Valley family, and chances are that you or your neighbor have bought a bed from us, and we value that more than anything. Come into the North or South My Mattress today and sleep better tonight. Isn't it time to sleep exceptionally?
Nearly 21 years ago, Cafe Sabor opened their doors in historic Logan train station. With the help of hundreds of amazing employees and patronage of thousands of wonderful customers, Cafe Sabor is proud to have been voted 3 years in a row Cache Valley's favorite Mexican restaurant in the Best of Northern Utah contest. Follow Cafe Sabor on social media for giveaways and promotions. Search Cafe Sabor for a restaurant near you. Thank you, Cache Valley, from your friends at Cafe Sabor.
At Cache Valley Bank, it's their people that make the difference.
Hello, I'm Ivan Cherry, Commercial Loan Officer at Cache Valley Bank. My family and I love this valley and enjoy connecting with its people and communities. I appreciate the opportunities I've had to work closely with local businesses to tailor solutions to meet their financial goals. Come visit me at our Hiram branch or give me a call and let me show you what opening an account with Cache Valley Bank can do for you. We look forward to meeting you. Cache Valley Bank, member FDIC.
If you've recently moved into our community or are attending Utah State, on behalf of the Cache Valley Media Group, we welcome you. As you settle in, we encourage you to support our local businesses. In fact, pick up a free copy of the Best of Northern Utah magazine. Let it be your compass for discovering the best our community has to offer, from quaint bookstores to delicious bakeries, electricians to dentists, coffee shops to florists. These businesses were voted the very best in our community. Go to bestofnorthernutah.com for magazine pickup locations.
This is Nate Lamson with Valley Office Systems, your home team when local matters. Valley Office Systems is your local provider for all things office, copiers, printers, furniture, and document management. Proudly serving Cache Valley since 2007. Visit valleyofficesystems.com.
He won't come. He's too busy.
Jenny, of course he'll come.
Happy birthday!
Dad!
I know. You guys didn't think I'd make it, but come on. Could I really miss my son's birthday? Here you go, Dan.
Thanks, Dad. But today's Jenny's birthday.
Give me that. Happy birthday, Jenny!
Need to get closer to your family?
Nice football, Dad.
Give your family everything. Give them your time. From the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Over 60 and retired? Making ends meet, especially at the supermarket, is tough. BenefitsCheckup.org is a free website that helps you pay for food, medicine, even utilities. Visit BenefitsCheckup.org.
The Aggies, the Jazz, the high schools, the full court press on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
Final segment here, the first hour of the Full Court Press. Thank you to those who've texted in on today's show, 435-339-0321. Going back to the text line, 8968. Let's hear for Sacramento State beating up on Stanford University. Utah's defense didn't play that good, but the offense gave up a lot, especially in the first half. Our offense gave away a lot in the first half, especially. I didn't really pay attention to, actually, of all the teams in the state of Utah, the Utes were actually the one I paid attention to the least. BYU, I actually watched a chunk of, or at least I think most of the fourth quarter of BYU Arkansas. I was watching Colorado State, Colorado, because I was hanging out with my brother in the living room. We were pulled up the score of the Colorado State game. We were like, hey, that game looks kind of interesting. Let's watch the end of it. So we watched a good chunk of the fourth quarter and overtime, and also the overtime. Certainly an interesting game for a lot of different reasons, that Colorado State game. Some banter going on between coaches. The fact that, the media has this weird obsession with Colorado, that it's like the one team they have to talk about. For me, it was just an interesting game, and obviously involves the Mountain West. We will talk about it likely in the second hour, just going over how all the different Mountain West teams did. But certainly a lot going on. I think the weekend in the Mountain West ended up being a little more interesting than I was giving it credit for. You know, there were a lot of Mountain West teams playing ranked opponents. A lot of Mountain West teams playing Power 5 opponents. And I have to say, most of the teams did pretty well. There was really only, I think, 1 or 2 games where you can just say, the Mountain West team laid an egg. And heck, one of the times you could say Mountain West team laid an egg was when Utah State laid a bit of an egg against the Falcons, going down 29-0 in the first half, going into halftime down 32-7, obviously ending up losing 39-21. So on this next hour, we're going to get into high school football. We'll call out for the Old Grist Mill bread and butter play of the game. Talking about RPI, how things are shaping up in Region 11 4A. And also, as I said, go around how teams in the Mountain West do. That's all coming up next hour. Don't go away.
I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise. After nearly 2 complete weeks of the regular season, it seems a little silly to overreact, but that's what we do. When you look at the historical impact of an 0-2 start, multiple teams might be in trouble. There's the obvious, the Cardinals, Texans, and Bears. They're not any good. And then there are the playoff contenders, Joe Burrow and the Bengals, Sean Payton's Broncos, and the always inconsistent Chargers. The 3 teams still have time to turn it around, but the difference between 0-2 and 2-0 is substantial. Since 1990, a 2-0 start usually has a team going to the playoffs 64% of the time. Meanwhile, since the NFL moved to a 7-team playoff, only one of the 23 teams to start 0-2 ended up reaching the playoffs. So while the NFL season is an 18-week marathon with 17 games, it's time to start paying attention, because even in a marathon, it's hard to catch up when you fall too far behind. I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise.